We do have an update today, as he mentions, will a BRICS Bretton Woods take place in Kazan? Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics, and it's a Wednesday afternoon, although we did have some interesting news out regarding the BRICS meeting, which is taking place next month in Kazan, Russia. And as we have talked about quite a bit over the past couple of months, there is something called the unit, which is a proposed payment settlement currency that, at least as now designated, would involve a 40% gold backing. And certainly, as the BRICS nations and others who have expressed interest in joining the BRICS are getting ready to meet in Kazan next month, there has been a lot of talk about whether they will go to some form of different currency system or structure. And in either case, Pepe Escobar has been really the leading person reporting this. Fortunately, we've also had Matt Riley of EF Bullion, who was on the show earlier this year and actually was telling me about a lot of this even before Escobar's reports came out. But in either case, we do have an update today, as he mentions, will a BRICS Bretton Woods take place in Kazan? And starts off with some comments from Andre Mikhailishin, the head of the task force on financial services of BRICS, and how he mentioned earlier this month, in something that we did fortunately share, that was this announcement that came out on September 6th, where he lists a bunch of different things that were going to be discussed, including a common unit of account unit, which is obviously what we're talking about here. They also talked about a platform for multilateral settlements, which is known as mBridge, as well as a blockchain-based payment system that entirely bypasses the US dollar, which is being called BRICS Pay, and also a settlement depository and insurance system, and a BRICS rating agency that would be separate from the West. Here you see them mention the unit value of common unit of account is pegged to 40% to gold, 60% to a basket of BRICS currencies. And I found this part interesting because he talked to two Russian analysts, one from a financial tech firm and the other who was the head of an investment fund with a global reach. And I found this helpful to see because I haven't heard any commentary about this out of the West, so especially to get some insight from two fund managers who chose to remain anonymous. But the question he posed them is BRICS ready to become an actor in Kazan next month, and what should be on the table in terms of the strategy to establish an alternative payment system? First one mentions time has come for BRICS to become a real actor. The world demands it. The leaders of the BRICS countries clearly understand it. They have the moral power and the political will to set up an organization to provide a number of BRICS to be called in. That's the best question for the upcoming summit. Again, that's not necessarily saying how it will go. Now, what you saw up here, that was from one of the officials saying what would be discussed. And the second analyst here mentions for a BRICS agreement amongst countries to mean something, countries need to agree on a framework of action. That means accepting some responsibilities in exchange for certain rights. And it sounds there's no better way to achieve that than to arrive at mutually agreed obligations on settlement of financial transactions. One of the analysts also adds, by now the situation is pretty clear. To properly address the issue of cross-border payments, the best mechanism should be based on the new development bank, given that Russia has a mandate to propose the new president of the organization. And I might add, the new development bank is something that Pepe, in some of his previous articles, has reported on, where here you see Putin had a special meeting with Dilma Rousseff, president of the BRICS New Development Bank. This was coming back in July, and they did talk in detail about the bank's development and the unit. And there again, you see the 40% gold backing being reported, and also mentions that Sergei Glaziev, who has also talked about the unit, here are his comments in a May 13th article from Pepe Escobar, where he mentions a decentralized approach to emission of potential global trade currency whose intrinsic value is anchored in physical gold and BRICS currencies makes unit the most promising of several approaches being considered. So I point this out, A, so that you can see the background, and B, see that a lot of the things that he's written about over the past couple of months do seem to be progressing forward. Anyway, here you have Sergei Glavsiev, who had previously provided full academic backing to the unit, explained all the details to President Dilma. They were both extremely pleased. Beaming Rousseff revealed that she had already discussed the unit with Putin. And again, not all of those details have appeared in TASS, but certainly a handful of them. Here we have a comment from Christopher Douglas Ems, head of brokerage at LM Investments. And why don't we take a listen to what we have here?
I think there's a lot of talk of, for example, a new BRICS currency emerging, which we're not sure about what form that will take. I'm not a huge fan of there being a one currency fits all, because I think all economies are different. And I think we've seen the disaster that the euro has been on the European nations that adopted it as their own currency. It's been very bad for the dominant currencies in that trading in the European Union, that union. And it's also been bad for the poorer nations that have had to compete in order to keep up with the other nations in terms of sharing a common currency. So I think we may see a currency that is backed on a basket of different BRICS nation currencies, be that the Russian ruble, the Chinese renminbi, the Indian rupee, the South African rand, these kind of large economies coming together and forming something that will essentially allow everyone to clear payments between each other in a lot better way. And also, again, us talking about that elephant in the room, not having to rely on the US dollar, and most importantly, not having the United States government have to look at all the payments they make between each other, because they're independent sovereign nations and they shouldn't really have other countries or telling them what to do or actually seeing what business they do with each other. That's their own business.
And I think that certainly makes sense to a lot of people, especially a lot of the people who are in charge of making decisions. Again, to be clear, I don't know if there is necessarily going to be an announcement next month at the meeting. There certainly could be. I don't think I would expect that they're going to launch this either. Is that possible? I suppose it's possible. It doesn't sound to me as if that's quite ready, but in either case, just wanted to pass along what is being reported, because at least certainly for the last 2 years, ever since Russia was kicked out of the SWIFT system, there's been a lot of commentary and talk about how gold could be used in the system, yet at least now continuing confirmation of what some of that might look like. So just wanted to keep you posted on that one. And if you want to stay up to date with these things as they come out, we actually do have a list where you can get these by email. And I actually started writing a daily column as well. So that is in the description field below if you'd like to get more updates like this. And I will end with saying that mentioned Matt Riley of EF Bullion earlier this year, we had a call where he laid all of this out pretty well in mid-July. And I found that one has been helpful for a lot of people. So if you want to check it out, that one's coming your way right here.